quote unquote stealing is wrong. But when I think about how the minimum wage in America, to walk with me, I know you're just like, what? The minimum wage in America is $7.50. The minimum wage in America has not risen and God knows how long at this point, 50 years or something, I don't know, something a long time ago, and it has not kept up with inflation. It is no longer a livable wage. People cannot live and take care of a family on $7.50 an hour. That, in my mind, is stealing. That is legal theft. You are stealing my energy, you are stealing my time, you are stealing my labor, and you are not paying me appropriately for it. That is all the money that is going into your pockets that I am not getting, all the time that I'm spending here that is not being properly accounted for, properly evaluated, properly paid. That is theft. You are stealing my time, you are stealing my energy, and thus you are stealing my money. And you are not going to be held liable for that. That is legalized theft if I've ever seen it. And welcome back to Bri Speaks Podcast. I am your host, Bri Speaks, and today we will be talking about the law and how it was created to protect the elite and only the elite and not the rest of the working class in America. So what am I talking about? What are you talking about, Bri? Well, if you're a Black American, if we want to start there, you already know that the law is not created to protect us. It's never protect us. And it's really only knowing that the police force was created initially as the slave patrol to catch runaway slaves, and then as a free market to catch when slaves were freed. When enslaved people were freed, it was a system created that evolved to capture free Black people and then re-enslave them. And then it's only been that from there. It's been a system set up to encapsulate Black people and put them in the justice system. So that is, that's the obvious one to anyone who is Black. If you're white, then, it may not be so obvious, but hopefully there's something inside of you that's saying, yeah, she's right, because I am. But even when I zoom out and I look at even how it is treating white Americans in the United States, it still is not a system that is set up to protect more than it is set up to control. So what do I mean by that? I have a list of examples here that I want to go through that show the perfect way that these laws are not an illustration of what is right and what is wrong. They are an illustration of how can I control the populace? How can I ensure that they don't retaliate against me, the elite? And how can I ensure that they are always in perpetual fear, so that they do what I ask them to do. Not even ask, so that they do what I tell them to do. So the first example that comes to mind is, let's go with stealing. If you steal from a business, say you go to the grocery store and you steal something, I don't know, a loaf of bread, or if you go to like even an electronics store and you steal like a laptop, or if you take anything from a store or a business, you as an individual will go to jail if you're caught and arrested and charged, of course. So, so quote unquote stealing is wrong. But when I think about how the minimum wage in America, to walk with me, I know you're just like, what? Okay. The minimum wage in America is $7.50. The minimum wage in America has not risen in, I don't know, God knows how long at this point, 50 years or something, I don't know, something a long time ago, and it has not kept up with inflation. It is no longer a livable wage. People cannot live and take care of a family on $7.50 an hour. But a corporation can pay us that. That, in my mind, is stealing. That is legal theft. You are stealing my energy, you are stealing my time, you are stealing my labor, and you are not paying me appropriately for it. That is all the money that is going into your pockets that I am not getting, all the time that I'm spending here that is not being properly accounted for, properly evaluated, properly paid. That is theft. You are stealing my time, you are stealing my energy, and thus you are stealing my money, and you are not going to be held liable for that. that is legalized theft if I've ever seen it. It's okay for a corporation to steal all of our earnings, but the moment we steal, but if the same cashier who works at a grocery store who can't afford something in that grocery store because they make $7.50 an hour as a, as a merchandise stocker or as a cashier or as someone who works in that very building. So if they take something that quote unquote wasn't theirs, they are able to be put in jail. Who is the law protecting in that instance? It ain't the person who is stealing the loaf of bread. And knowing that they're saying that they're not going to pay people their food stamps this coming November, and people are going to go hungry for Thanksgiving, I'm just like, that's corporate theft. Y'all are stealing, not even just like, not paying people their food stamps, but I'm saying if people need food and they don't have food and they steal groceries, which is what's going to inevitably happen if people go long enough without food, and those people are going to be arrested. That is a method of control that only helps the elite. That is not helping your everyday citizen, and it's only helping the people who own these grocery stores. So that is theft. That is just one example of stealing. That is okay if a corporation or an elite does it, but it is not okay if a regular person does it. It makes me think about old people who often they lose their houses whenever these developers come, and they the corporation will come and essentially take the person to court and do all these legal loopholes that a person cannot afford to pay for or understand, especially if they're like an older person who has a house in a neighborhood that is being renovated for, some sort of high value neighborhood. That person is going to be their property will be taken from them. The corporation will figure out some sort of way to dupe them out of their house if they don't want to give up their house willingly, and that is theft, but they steal through the law. Who is the law protecting? All right. I think about unaliving people. Unaliving people is another. If we unalive someone, it's life in prison, right? It's 20. You get 20 years to life, or you get, if you do it more than once, you get that charge on top of that charge. But how many times have we seen examples of corporations doing unsafe practices that lead to the end of their consumer, but nobody is held liable. Nobody goes to jail for that. Like, I want to say rarely, but I'm just like, I really can't think of one example where someone went to jail for harmful business practices that cost lives of people. I recently heard about Ford, the car dealer Ford. They were building a car at one point, and the car, it was known that if the car hit something, like the front bumper hit something, the engine was like, the way it was built, it was extremely combustible, so the front of the car would explode, and often it would end the life of whomever the driver or passengers were. And Ford knew this was happening. It was in their testing work. And apparently it would have only cost them 11 cents per vehicle to recall and redo these vehicles. But that cost was more than what they would spend on wrongful death lawsuits. And so they decided to keep the cars in circulation and just pay if someone sued them. So people lost their lives because they made a corporate error that they didn't want to fix, and that they knew they could fix, that they knew they should fix, that they did the calculations to fix, and decided, I'm gonna go with no. I'm not gonna fix that. But that's legal. I think they pay in wrongful death suits. They pay fines, but what is a fine to some child no longer having their family, to a mother or a husband who loses the person that they love? You know what? Okay. And there was another one. What's another one? There are so many of these where it's like okay, I think about insurance. I used to work in insurance, so I know this intimately. Insurance companies will deny claims, 100% deny your claim, even if you are entitled to it, because they hope that you will just accept that they denied it and not question it. And then if you question it and say, like, if you appeal, say, hey, why did you deny it? They will send you they will put their fake paid off doctors on the line and say, oh, our doctor said that you don't need this treatment or this surgery or this whatever, even though your doctor who works with you, sees you, talks to you every day, says you need this. Their doctor who's never seen you, never talked to you, looked through some paperwork, and they claim that you don't need this medication or treatment or surgery that your doctor is saying that you need. And so they deny your claim. And so then you are allowed to, take it to court from there and say, like, hey, court, like, they're denying my claims. But then Mind you, you are sick. You are in need of some sort of operation, medication, or treatment while you now are in a court trying to sue your insurance company to pay for your claim. And then your insurance company has a team of lawyers already on the payroll who already do this every day, who does this as a specialty. And so your likelihood of beating them is low. It's just based on the amount of effort you have that you can put in, based on the amount of money that you have. Because if you're suing them because you want them to pay your medical claims, it's likely because you don't have enough money to pay for it yourself. And so for you to have to now pay for a lawyer to sue your insurance company to get them to pay for your medical treatments, it's like you might as well pay the medical treatments yourself to begin with. And they know that. And so you quit, you'll give up. It's not funny, but it's sad. But it's like it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Because they will deny your claims, defend their decision to deny your claims, and then depose, which is go to court for it, and then defend themselves in court. So that ends up ending in people rationing out their insulin. That ends in people not getting the treatment that they need at all. That ends in people's lives being taken away because they couldn't afford treatment and their insurance kept denying them. But that's legal. Are they sued for that? And occasionally they'll get a wrongful death suit. And again, it'll be cheaper to pay out $1 million or $2 than to pay $10 million for their treatment if it's like a rare orphan disease that takes multi-millions of dollars to pay. And then even if they have to pay that wrongful death suit, every one person that they actually do have to pay a wrongful death suit, they've saved millions of dollars for all the people who never went that far. That that is but it's like who do you arrest? You can't arrest a system, and these are systems put in place to to control the population. It is never to control the rich. The people who are causing the most problems, the systemic problems in society, those people are not held accountable because they are a part of a system. And you can't hold the system accountable because then you have to hold then it gets big. It's like that's one insurance company. If you hold them accountable for doing that, now you have to hold every insurance company. And this includes not only just health insurance, this is also car insurance works the same way. As they deny as much as they can or pay you out. Car insurance companies, they work a little different in the way that instead of just flat out denying you, they'll pay you a small, like you could be owed $20,000, but they'll offer you $1,000, hope you go away. And then if you say no, I need more than this, you have to get a lawyer. And the moment you start paying a lawyer, it starts the cost benefit analysis ratio starts ticking. It's like, okay, do I pay this lawyer to try to get money? If I lose, then I'll lose more money than I thought, or I cannot try, and then I know I'll be losing money, but will I win if I do try? And it's just like, is it worth it? I have to spend. It's just like, how much money will I gain if I do? Because I still have to pay this lawyer. It's like, do you start asking yourself, do I do this? Is my time worth it? Is the effort worth it? I'm already stressed out. You already got work, but who's going to jail for that? That's stealing. Nobody. Okay. What about destruction of property? If we vandalize a building, we're going to jail, right? But private equity firms, they buy businesses and strip them for parts all the time. Destroy all the services inside, destroy the products, leave nothing for the consumer, the thing that consumers used to love. And this is not even just going back to unaliving people. They've been buying nursing homes, and then they'll reduce the staff so that there are more patients per clinician. So it's like one nurse now has to take care of 10 old people versus 5. And an old person might, now you got this nurse stretched extremely thin. And if something happens to that older person, then is it the nurse's fault? No. It's the system's fault for making her overworked and underpaid and tired. But will the system go to jail? No. If that same nursing home can't, if a private equity firm buys that nursing home and strips it of its medication and takes out all the medication that the patient needs and says, no, y'all got to take Tylenol now. And so the patient starts passing away sooner. Who is the law protecting? Not us. Lying. Another one. Oh, well, let me finish. So destroying the property, PE firms, they destroy businesses. It's the long story short of it. They destroy them and sell them for parts, but no one goes to jail for that. So lying, perjury is wrong and you'll go to jail or you'll have a large fine. But it's like not if you have enough money to prove that you didn't know that what you said was a lie or to prove that like it's just like the court is set up so that if you have enough money, like it's like, and I know as I say it, it's obvious, but the court is set up that if you have enough money, you can get away with literally murder. Literally, you can get away with anything if you have enough money. And who has enough money? The elites. And so it's just like, and again, it's set up so that if you have enough money, you can create systems that will perpetuate crimes for you. And then you can have plausible deniability to say, I had no idea, or it wasn't me, or it wasn't my fault. Or even if you didn't set up the system, you perpetuate the system. These people perpetuate the system. Like assault, you can't hit a person, you can't assault a person, but a police officer can do whatever they want with you and your body. Isn't that crazy? I don't know. It's like police officers are just regular people like you and me, but they're given this strange authority to cause violence and harm people. Isn't that weird? But so, I know people are going like, what is a better system? What is a better way of being? And my thing is, I don't know. I just feel like people should be able to, and this might be a hot take, but people should be able to enact justice as they see fit. I know that sounds like chaos. That sounds like the purge, but that sounds like the purge if people are, cause like, I don't, if people are inherently awful and evil, but that's the thing. Maybe I'm a positive person, but I feel like people are not inherently evil. People are not inherently bad. And if given the opportunity, people would not choose to unalive everybody within their arm's reach. I just feel like people wouldn't do that. And I feel like the only people that they would try to hurt, harm, or take out are people who have done them some sort of harm. But if it's a society I don't know. I'm thinking, like, if two people have a problem with one another, they should be able to fight it out. And, whoever wins, wins. And that's that. And it's just like, all right, you whoop my behind. I will no longer, I don't know, disrespect you. Or, like, if they were fighting over something, it's just like, let people just duke it out in some sort of way, like, that they both mutually agree on, right? Because if it's, like, a person who's very small and someone who's very big and they disagree on something, maybe it shouldn't be a physical fight, but it could be, sorry, it could be some sort of battle of the minds, battle of a specific skill, like, a dance off. Like, it could be anything. It could be anything that those two people want. I feel like fighting would be just like a quick and easy one, especially if we raise our kids to know how to fight, Karate Kid style. And there can be rules for how to fight. No one's fighting to the death. That's we've gone away with that. We've done away with that. But yeah, just some sort of way for, I don't know. I'm a fan of street justice. I guess it's like I just feel like justice should be kept within the community because the community knows what the community wants. The community knows the community's values. The community knows what they idealize as right and wrong. And so once you outsource your ability to hold people accountable to a outside third party source, then people get reckless. People don't feel like that's it breeds narcissism. It's like, because narcissists are people who don't feel like they ever have to take accountability for their actions or for the harms that they cause, and they feel like they deserve everything that they get. If it's positive and if it's negative, it's not that they don't think they deserve punishment. They are entitled to whatever they want. So anyone who tries to hold them accountable for something negative or try to punish them are their enemies, and they now will retaliate and seek retribution or revenge against them. So yeah, I feel like if you don't hold people accountable ever, and you feel like you can't hold them accountable ever, then it breeds those kind of people who feel entitled to everything and feel like they should never be held accountable because they've never been held accountable. It trains their brains to do that. Even when it comes to like my kiddo, I'm just like, I never beat my kid and I regret that. That's the thing, is like, I regret that. Not that my kid is bad by any means. There's a lack of respect, a lack of urgency that comes. He's getting more respectful with time. He's 12 now, going into 13, but it's like, I just know the respect would have been there earlier and it would have been ingrained much more deeply had he gotten his behind whooped from a younger age, from a young age. And I was been doing studies on, on disciplining children, and in general, when it comes to physically disciplining children, all the studies show that it's not physical discipline that is the problem. It is physical abuse when it is unpredictable to the child. So everyone who's beat and they grew up and they say, "Well, I got beat and I'm fine," and I am one of those people. I got beat and I am fine. Yeah, the kids who come out not fine are the ones who had, like, a parent who drank a lot and would come home, and, like, sometimes they're happy, sometimes they're sad. And if they were sad or mad, they would, hurt them. But it was always very unpredictable when those punishments would be coming. That is when your brain takes that in as trauma and you become a traumatized person. But when I was a young child, if I did something wrong, I knew exactly what was coming after I did that thing that was wrong. Like, I never had to guess if I was in trouble or not. It was like it was like almost even, it was even, I'm making this decision with the knowledge that I will be punished later. It was a choice that I am taking this choice and I know the consequences that will come. And that is a different environment than no matter what I do, I still may or may not be hurt, harmed, or, abused in some way. That is a different situation. Children cannot grow up in an environment like that. But I didn't know that when I had my kid. So I was under the presumption that beating your kid is bad. And if you ever beat your kid, you're a bad parent. And so I didn't. And now I have a slightly spoiled brat of a child. And yeah, and I do think that white people, they never beat their children. I feel like the largest percentage of narcissistic butthole children are within the white community. Like, they are just a lot of not nice people, white people. And I don't mean not nice in the performative way. I think there are a ton of performative nice white people, and like the Southern belles, like, "Oh, hey, sweetie, bless your heart." But then they go behind your back and talk all this crap. Or in the same way, like corporate America, white men will be like, "Yeah, ha ha ha, that's so great." But then raise your premiums and slash your health care, and or haha, that's so great, and then sell cars that they know will blow up and kill people. So that's like, yeah, that's the kind of people who grow up when they have no real, like, discipline, or they're really not held accountable for their actions at any point. And that is what the systems, like, that's what the justice system does. It holds people accountable who can't afford to not be held accountable. And then the people who can afford to not be held accountable, which are the people who are never held accountable already, they continue to do crimes or criminal activity because they have the resources to not be held accountable. And it's just so, and that is why I'm like, it should be that there should be no justice system. There should be no justice system. It don't work. It don't work. Like, everyone says the justice system is broken. It is broken. And it's only there to terrorize the Black community and to make white people feel like, to make them fear. It controls the white community through fear, and it controls the Black community through abuse and oppression. So that is what the justice system does as it stands today. And it allows the elite to do whatever they want while all the masses are too afraid to do anything, because and we can't retaliate. We can't play Mario and Luigi as a video game with the elites because we're all afraid of this justice system that they have created. So, which is why Mario and Luigi was a game that was played that day against that healthcare CEO, was because he was unaliving so many people through his corporate policies, through his corporate system. And so someone decided to take justice into his own hands because the justice system doesn't work. The justice system will allow the extermination of many human beings while while saying, like, that's just business. Like, that is just business. How is that just business? Okay. That is that is all for today. Short episode because what the heck? That is what the heck. If you like this episode, you'll like my recent episode on plausible deniability and how it is the root of all racism. And it's how it deals with the courts as well. They get away with everything as long as they can say, no, it wasn't me. Thanks for coming. If you don't already, please do follow me at Bri.Speaks on TikTok and Bri Speaks Podcast on Spotify, as well as Bri Speaks on YouTube. And I will see you. Hope you learned something. Hope this was enjoyable. Hope it was some good food for thought. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.